Hi and welcome back to our next video as we move our way across the table. We're now up to tantalum, which is down here. That's element number 73. Now we're moving our way slowly across the board, and this is group 5 and it's the last one in group 5, and all 3 elements in this group are named after mythological beings. Vanadium, the goddess of beauty from Norse mythology. Niobium, who is the daughter, Niobe is the daughter of Tantalus. Now, here is Tantalus, and incidentally, I've had somebody ask what is on the other side of the card. So here it is. If we flip it over, there is a story based on fact. There is a quickfire game based on wind, fire and water, but that's like scissors, paper, rock. And then there is a game below where you have 5 different values which you can pit against your opponent. But this one, the lowest number wins. So that's what's on the other side of the card. Now, Tantalus, here it is. Now, tantalum, it's a rare, hard, dense, blue-grey, lustrous metal. And its speciality is it's really highly resistant to corrosion, especially from acid. And so it's used in things, in laboratory equipment where you might have to contain some acid, for example. And it's part of what's called the refractory group, which is this area around here, really tough metals. Refractory metals are really hard wearing. They are very tough and they won't warp or melt or bend at very high temperatures. And I have actually produced a video, here it is, showing the melting points of the different elements, but visually, so you can see. Now, it's on a loop. The first one is the first flash, the lowest temperature is hydrogen over there, and you see basically that it's it kind of like starts at the edges generally and moves its way inwards, and it ends up with this final last, there it is, this final last sort of convergence of the highest melting elements they are, and it's all around this area here, finishing with tungsten, which is the toughest, the highest melting element. Now, it was discovered in 1802 by Anders Eckerberg in Sweden, and he discovered it in a mineral which also had niobium in it. So that's why, because Niobe is the daughter of Tantalus, that's why she was called niobium. Now, tantalum, what's the story there? Why was he called, why did he decide to call it tantalum? After Tantalus. Now we're looking at Greek mythology. He was a very bad man and made to stand waist deep in water for all of eternity, and every time he got thirsty the water would recede, and there's fruit trees above, and every time he got hungry and reached up for the fruit trees would move out of the way, so everything was tantalizingly close. And he decided to call it tantalum because partly when immersed in acid it wouldn't absorb any acid. So that's where it got its name from. Now, one of the main things that they use tantalum for is a thing called capacitors. And capacitors are an electrical component. They can hold a tiny electrical charge more powerfully than any other type of metal used in different types of capacitors. And it's vitally important for things like mobile phones, screens, laptops, all sorts of electronics use tantalum in the form of these capacitors. So tantalum being important for electronics, do we find that in superhero films? Well, yes, kind of. There is all sorts of superhero films with characters who are scientists, engineers. Just take a look at Iron Man, for example, scientist. Dr. David Banner, the Hulk, scientist. Spider-Man, scientist. You've got Ant-Man, to name just a few. All of these have some kind of like technical scientific background. Where would Batman be without his gadgets? So there's tantalum. really important, resistant to all sorts of corrosion and acids, really important for capacitors. In fact, if you have a look at the card closely in that top corner, those are fruit trees, and they are fruit, but there is one which is a capacitor. It's that yellow one there, if we zoom into it. So, vitally important. It's expensive, it's rare, and we wouldn't have any electronics really if we didn't have tantalum. Right, thanks for joining. If you want a free copy emailed to you of this high definition artwork, just contact elementscarpet.com. I'll just email it to you. And then we're going to start on group 6, starting off with chromium, which is up over here. We'll find it's the hardest metal that there is on the entire table. Okay, thanks a lot for joining. See you next time for chromium. Bye bye.